For this episode of Murphy Media Memories, we're going to look at the top 10 unresolved TV cliffhangers. 1, this will include animation as well as live action, and 2, it will be everything from the year 2000 and before.
Number 10.
Sonic the Hedgehog was about a character named Sonic the Hedgehog and his friends that were trying to defeat the evil Dr. Robotnik. Throughout the series, you saw the right-hand man of Robotnik, who is Snively. Now, Snively started evolving into a character who seemed to be a lot smarter than Robotnik. And at the end of Season 2, when Robotnik was finally defeated, the very last 30 seconds is setting up Snively to be the main villain for Season 3, along with someone else who only showed up in one episode throughout the 2 seasons as his new subordinate.
Where is the hedgehog?
I'm searching your excellency. Now, it's my turn. And I'm not alone!
I do not consider this a cliffhanger because the story ended, which was just Sonic fighting Robotnik and resolving that entire storyline in 22 minutes, with his final defeat nonetheless, so it was a season ender. That is not considered an unresolved cliffhanger. That is considered a setup for a season that never happened.
Number 9. Number 8.
Now, number 8 and 7 are weird because not only were they unresolved cliffhangers for the TV series, they later got solutions made in made-for-TV movies. So yes, I am talking about Farscape and A.L.F.
My name is John Crichton, an astronaut, a radiation wavehead, and I got shot through a wormhole. I'm lost in some distant part of the universe on a ship, a living ship full of strange alien life forms. Help me.
The original plan for Farscape was that it was going to be a 6-season show. The cliffhanger happened at the end of Season 4.
So I'm having a baby.
Yeah, okay. And the baby.
It's yours. Are you happy?
Yeah.
What was your question?
Oh, God. Will you marry me?
Yes.
Get inside! Give me a break. We're in a boat! I love you.
So you're left wondering with, oh my god, they were about to be happy and now they're stuck forever somewhere and nobody knows how to find them. The next year, fan outcry was so loud, they made a 3-hour TV movie to resolve everything. Now, a lot of people don't think it's very good, but at least it actually had some resolution to the title. So, are you going to count rushed resolutions as cliffhangers because it was a TV movie? In A.L.F's instance, it was not really a long-term story. It's just a comedy show with half-hour segments of an alien getting into lots of trouble and causing his human owners to spend lots and lots of money to repair all his destruction that he causes.
What kind of a snack?
You got a cat? He's quick. I'll give him that.
The end of A.L.F. ended with one of his alien friends coming to tell him that not only were most of them getting together to start new life on a new planet from the survivors, that his girlfriend was also now not dead and also going to be living with him as well. So when they go to pick A.L.F. up, he's there all ready to get picked up, but who should arrive but the government?
What? Oh! Wait! Don't leave me!
Elf! Dad, do something!
Hey, right where you are.
And the episode just ends with the government surrounding A.L.F. and it just ends. Just like that. And apparently a TV movie was made that resolved this 8 years later. I did not even know this existed until 1 week ago. So yes, they did have resolutions, but are they resolutions that mattered? Because from what I could tell, a lot of people were not happy with both A.L.F. and Farscape's movies.
Number 7.
So for this next 6, we're actually going to get into things that actually had unresolved cliffhangers. Starting with Space, Above and Beyond. Unfortunately, I remember very little from Space Above and Beyond. All I remember is that it followed the lives of a Marine Space Corps that often went on various missions to destroy the Chigs, the evil aliens of the series. I do remember, however, that it had 2 really interesting revelations. One was the fact that the aliens were actually just humans that were abducted by aliens centuries ago and had evolved on their own to be this now. And that we, the humans, caused the war ourselves by destroying their 3 peaceful scout ships a few years earlier. So basically you've been following about 8 characters or so at this point. So in the very final episode, almost every single character is considered either dead or missing in action. And you would not know if they were really dead or survived until Season 2, which never occurred. So, yeah, and this was never resolved anywhere. Apparently they had plans for a Season 2. In fact, this was originally pitched as a 5-season series, but nobody watched the show except for, like, me, I guess, so it was abruptly canceled. And I want to let you in on a little secret. For Space Above and Beyond, I haven't really seen this since 1996, so all this is off my head. Yeah, I didn't watch all 22 episodes again for this review. I'm a very bad video reviewer.
Number 6.
Quantum Leap was about a man who could travel in time, but he could only do so by jumping into other people's bodies. Unfortunately, something goes wrong, and instead Sam Beckett is stuck jumping from time to time, righting what once went wrong. Joining Sam on his quest is Al, someone who is able to create a hologram of himself in the time period that Sam is at, and has a computer that is able to analyze over the course of the episode what right he needs to wrong before he can leap again and do it all over again. And it's always kind of implied that there's a spiritual reason behind this. I mean, it's further compounded in one of the episodes where he fights Satan.
Why are you doing this?
To put an end to your meddling. Who gave you the right to go bungling around in time, putting right what I made wrong?
Now, you would think a final episode for a series would be this giant action-packed spectacle. All he was really doing was just hanging out at this bar all the time. And it was hinted that this bartender that he kept talking to seemed to know an awful lot about him. And it was hinted that this bartender might actually be God, he tries to tell Sam that he is not trapped and isn't jumping from body to body to right wrongs because God was commanding it or some accident happened, but because he subconsciously wants to right the wrongs of the world, and that's what was causing him to do so. In fact, he tries to tell him that he can jump wherever he wants to just by his mind alone. And it starts to look like Sam is about to accept this because he jumps back in time to tell his best friend's wife to wait for him because he was presumed missing and killed in action in Vietnam. If they had just left it at that and then he jumped and the series ended, it would end on a high note because you would know that Sam now had the power to control his own time leaping. However, the very last 15 seconds of the show is this text. Dr. Sam Beckett never returned home. This should be the final episode, that everything will get resolved. And then just as it looks like he's about to resolve it by reuniting his best friend with his wife, then this text has to come out of nowhere and ruin the episode. I remember watching the final episode on some TBS program or something with the actual creator of the show that talked while the episode was playing, and he actually said that they originally intended for a theatrical film to resolve the entire storyline of Sam Beckett's 5-season quest, only it never got made for reasons I cannot understand.
Number 5. Number 4.
SpiderMan, the animated series. SpiderMan, the animated series, introduced Mary Jane early on as one of the women that Peter was trying to date along with Felicia. Just as Peter and Mary Jane are starting to fall in love with each other, the inevitable happens. A supervillain comes along and she falls off the bridge and dies. No, I'm just kidding. It's a cartoon. So she falls off the bridge and falls into a portal that leads her trapped into an alternate dimension, where she then gets lost for 1.5 seasons.
Where am I? Peter? Somebody, please! Help me! Help me!
Yeah, so not only does she not die, it's clearly supposed to evoke the death of Gwen Stacy, but using Mary Jane instead. Interestingly enough, it was actually used effectively, but still 1.5 seasons of her missing. They eventually bring her back, and he actually does marry her, only you find out that she's a clone. And then she dies. And so the real Mary Jane is somewhere out there. Madam Web was a character introduced about season 2 or 3, who always just shows up randomly to say, "Hey, Spider-Man, do this plot." Well, eventually at the end of season 5, she gets him and a few other Spider-Men from other multiple universes to come and fight an evil Spider-Man that's going to destroy all these multiple realities. Well, as a reward for saving the multiverse, she actually now somehow has the power to travel between dimensions now, I guess, but she says at the very last line of dialogue,
Face front, true believer. We are going to find the real Mary Jane Watson. What? It has been a long, hard journey, and I think you are finally entitled to some happiness.
Amen to that, dear lady. Amen to that.
So yeah, you think she's finally going to take him to see Mary Jane. Either it's going to be like some 2-3 part episode where he has to save her from some alternate dimension thing, or, because you know they can't just resolve it with him going saying, "Hey, it's me. Hey, it's you. I love you. We leave. The end." No. But instead, it just ends. So, yeah, I was really pissed about this because I never got to see what happened to Mary Jane and how they ever resolved this storyline. But it gets even worse next year because Spider-Man Unlimited. Right as the episode begins, Spider-Man is living with Mary Jane. What, are they married? I mean, did he save her from the last season? I mean, this is only the next fall after the previous season. Is this a new continuity? What's going on? Tell me! Tell me! But that won't matter because Mary Jane doesn't show up in the rest of the series. Yep, Spider-Man spends his whole time trapped on Counter-Earth, which is a duplicate Earth we've discovered that's on the opposite end of our sun. You see, Venom and Carnage are trying to escape onto a space shuttle that is trying to go to Counter-Earth. So the two of them are trapped on Counter-Earth, fighting Bestials created by the High Evolutionary who rules the planet with an iron fist. And then the series ends on a giant cliffhanger. It seems that Venom and Carnage have created some type of symbiote machine thing that just explodes out of the middle of nowhere and starts raining down symbionts all across the entire planet. And yeah, there was no Season 2 of Spider-Man Unlimited, or Season 7. Just ends with, hey, I guess the whole planet's infected with symbiotes now, not a thing we can do to stop that. I guess enjoy your new life as a symbiotic hive mind slave. The end.
Number 3.
Sliders. Quinn Mallory created a portal to an alternate universe, brings along his professor, his best friend Wade, and an innocent bystander named Rembrandt, and they all get trapped traveling from dimension to dimension, trying to find their way home because they don't know how to get back. Now, in the middle of Season 3, the professor dies, and this new character named Maggie becomes the 4th member, and they have actually found out how to get home. Unfortunately, it's taken by this evil general that's on the same universe as Maggie, and they spend the next half of Season 3 chasing him down for their Earth coordinates. They somehow send Wade and Rembrandt back to their real Earth, but for some reason it gets destroyed, and Maggie and Quinn are now stuck on another world, then now have to find out how to get home all over again in the next season that never came to be.
So how do we get you home?
I don't know.
Well, that was Sliders. No, I wonder how they got home.
Dude, you do realize that there were at least 2 more seasons of Sliders, right?
I guess I'll talk about them. Originally, Sliders was a Fox television show, but seasons 4 and 5 were actually continued on the Sci-Fi Channel. And here's where stuff gets really weird and bad. It turns out that Quinn is not from the planet that Wade and Rembrandt are from. He's actually a duplicate from another Earth that his parents dropped there because their whole planet was conquered by the Cro-Mags that were always chasing them in Season 3. Can't wait for the plot that everybody hated the most in Season 3 to come back as the main plot line for Seasons 4 and 5. Yeah, it turns out fans were not happy with the storyline in Sliders. They actually liked the idea of tuning in each week to find out a new alternate Earth that you could watch in one beginning, middle, and end episode, and then be excited because you don't know what to expect the next week. This was one of the shows that did not benefit from having continuity storylines like this, and yet they went the complete opposite direction of what fans wanted for Seasons 4 and 5. Granted, having watched it all again, Season 4 is not that bad when you see the standalone episodes that don't deal with the Cro-Mags, which unfortunately is only 2/3 of all the episodes of the series. Season 5, however, I definitely remember in high school watching the premiere episode where Quinn merges with a duplicate of himself who doesn't look like him, and that guy essentially becomes the new Quinn and possessed his body somehow. Their bodies merged or something, and he's got his memories stored in his mind somewhere, and all that matters is nobody gave a shit and the show was canceled. And the other 2 cast members that know him try to see if they can get his mind out of the other Quinn. But instead, it's kind of come to say that that Quinn is dead forever and this is the new Quinn. And that just kind of pisses me and all the fans off. Like, I'm glad I didn't watch it that far to see that, oh yeah, deal with it part, or the cliffhanger, because I gave up on this show on the Season 5 premiere. That is how pissed I was at the opening episode. The thing that really sucks about this is Season 5 ends on a cliffhanger because they wanted the fans to fight for the show for a 6th season. Yeah, you're not sure if Rembrandt died or not. You see, they're supposed to open a portal and jump to their normal world like normal, but his psychic has already predicted that they will all die. So only Rembrandt takes the chance to jump through there, and you're left wondering if the 4th and last original cast member has now jumped to his death.
Mr. LeBeau, Can you see our friend? Can you see Rembrandt? Mr. LeBeau! I can't get a pulse. Rembrandt.
What do we do now?
This is one of the times where there was a cliffhanger where nobody cared.
Number 2.
I feel so shaken now.
Strange Luck is about a photographer named Chance. When he was a baby, he was the sole survivor of a plane crash that also claimed his mother, father, and his sister. Well, it seems ever since then, luck, both good and bad, has just followed him everywhere, such as the time a criminal tried to hide $10 million in his bank account, which led to Chance working with the FBI to try and clear his name. After being put under hypnosis, he found out that he had a brother. They eventually find each other and find out that the plane was in fact murder. You see, it seems their father only pretended to get on the plane so that he could double back and release top secret info to the newspapers and press, which is why everybody thinks he is dead. So yeah, his father's also alive.
Oh my God.
Turns out his father also had those same strange luck powers, and his coworker tried to weaponize it, but when his strange powers failed to save his coworker's lover, now he's the guy that tries to kill him and get back on his family and do all this crazy drama for the final 2 episodes. The bad guy threatens to kill Chance, his brother and father, and the agent that turned on him, but then Chance somehow makes his powers unintentionally work to cause a lightning strike, and it strikes the barrels and causes an explosion. He wakes up at the end of the episode to meet his ex-lover editor, who hasn't even shown up this whole episode, and all she has is this to say to him.
There was an explosion. Don't you remember? You got nailed.
What about Eric? And my father?
Everything's gonna be okay.
Did his brother, father, and the turncoat agent survive? Did the bad guy get away? And what was with that stupid box that Chance found at the beginning? They referenced it once as if it had some semblance on the plot. And what happened to the documents that proved that the airplane crash was actually government sabotage? And what about the Agent Mulder reference? That was clearly for an X-Files crossover for season 2 that never happened. One last bit of trivia, the creators actually called Chris Carter to get permission to use the reference to Agent Mulder. And 3 years later, an X-Files episode actually did come out involving a man who had strange luck powers just like the main character of this television series. This came out in 1995, and the next entry on this list came out in 1996. And I frequently got the Mulder reference confused with that, as well as other story elements, because they both, A, came out on the Fox network at the same time, B, they both involve dead fathers that come back to life, and C, they both have long-lost siblings that they reunite with. And they both have amazing powers as well in different aspects. So yeah, let's move on with the final entry in the series.
Number 1.
I feel so shaken now.
VR5.
Anything in your subconscious can be pulled into VR. You know that, right? Anything in anybody else.
I'm trying to protect you.
Who do you work for?
Just call him the committee.
Did your father ever take you into VR5?
I think it's playing with your brain. I love it. Welcome to the game, Sidney Bloom.
VR5 was actually one of my favorite TV shows growing up. It's about a woman named Sidney Bloom. If her phone is connected to her father's old computer, when someone else on the other line picks it up, while she happens to be connected to VR, she can then jump into their mind. And this takes place in the span of a second, but for her it can be minutes or hours. And she uses this to actually solve crimes or get into people's minds to find out what really happened with some unsolved mysteries or murders. Now, it's actually a very interesting show. In fact, the main premise shows that her and her family, their car careened off a cliff and she lost her sister and her father. Now, the revelation toward the end of the series was that her sister was still alive and she thought that she had died because their memories had actually been altered by the VR system itself. In fact, her mother, who's been psychotic and catatonic for the last 15 years, was because her memories are actually trapped in VR. Sydney actually goes into VR and reconstitutes her mother's memories to make her normal again, while at the same time uncovering the fact that the mysterious organization she works for is probably the same company that was trying to kill or steal her father's research all along, with also hints that her father might or might not still be alive. We don't know because their memories could have been altered. Anyway, she saves her mom's memories, but because she's been in VR for so long, she is now trapped in VR, even with the helmet off, just like her mother was at the cliffhanger. So now you're left wondering, how are they going to get out of this? The mysterious organization is closing in on their house, ready to take them because they know now that both Bloom Girls are there and the new technology, and now Sydney is catatonic. So now you're left wondering what's going to happen to her and what's going to happen with her sister and her mentor now. And shoot, so many unresolved plot lines and subplots that just never get resolved at all.
Samantha? Sid? Sid? Oh my God, Sid. Please stop this thing. Oh my God. Get them off! Sid!
Sydney?
Sid! Hey, can you hear me? Sid, are you in there? Listen, can you hear me? Sid! Sid!
Well, those were my top 10 TV cliffhangers. I'd also like to know what you saw as cliffhangers that never were resolved. Not in just before the year 2000, like most of my show is, but even after. So leave a note in the comments or make your own response video with your top 10 list. This has been Murphy Media's Memory Top 10 List video.
So show me how to find you. My heart is breaking, my soul is aching now. There's so much doubt in my mind.
Quinn Mallory created an alternate universe.
He created an alternate universe?
Okay, go ahead.